winter strikes again. Fortunately today, the Atlantic lies quiet, as if permitting Dick and Jem to proceed. The operation rolls into action. The crane, safety boat and council permission have all taken careful planning, so there's a lot resting on today. However, what could spoil it is the tide.
We've only got till 15:11, that's the low water mark.
Fitting that bottom part of the frame, we've probably got about 15 minutes to do it, and that's it. That's it.
Get on with it.
They can only bolt down the bottom of the frame when the tide reaches its lowest point, meaning they'll only have a narrow window of time before the water starts to cover it again. With low tide approaching, they need to get cracking, and the funnel still has to be attached to the end of the pipe.
Keep tightening. Just let me know when you're going to drill anything.
Coming through somewhere above your head, Jem.
Yeah, and move back.
Just over an hour to low tide, and the installation begins. It's a tense moment as the heavyweight frame starts being edged into position.
I would say that's not far off there.
Mind yourself, Jem, we've got the horizontals coming in. That's it, down as far as it's going, isn't it?
Could maybe come out to sea slightly. Right, so I want to go out that way, so up a little bit and out that way.
Despite the time pressure, they can't rush this. It's a hazardous job and has to be positioned exactly.
Sweet. Yeah, that's ideal now. It's sat really nicely.
The bottom is just in the sea. The water's still going down, so at low tide, it should be high and dry and clear to bolt in.
Got about an hour, I think, before the tide's at its lowest. So.
Tide and time wait for no man, mate.
When these holes have bolts in, the frame will be secure, enabling Jem to climb up from the bottom and drill the remaining holes.
Dick, I'm going to come down and do the bottom ones.
Good call.
I don't know if you can fire in those.
Yeah, so
it might be a bit tricky, but give it a go.
It's still a few minutes before low tide, so Jem makes a start on the fixing beam next up from the bottom. The holes must be 15 centimeters deep to stop the bolts pulling free. So if they hit very hard concrete or metal reinforcing underneath, the job could easily be held up. The next task is to inject an adhesive resin into the holes. This gives a chemical anchor for the bolts that will be stronger than the concrete itself.
Jem, 10 minutes till low tide, mate.
All right, I'm going in to do the holes.
The bottom of the frame is only just clear, but Jem decides to go for it.
No, the water's just washing right over us.
Minutes later, and it's officially low tide, but there's still hardly any clearance. They're right on the limit of being able to drill the holes.
This is as low as the tide's going, mate.
Like, can you keep an eye out for any big waves that come in? Just swamps the lot.
Wave!
Jem can't risk the drill flooding. It'll break and could give him an electric shock.
Wave! That was a big one. Wave! Wave! Wave!
Right, that's it.
Well done, mate.
After a frantic 5 minutes, Jem still has to inject the holes and set in the bolts. Luckily, the resin compound does work underwater.
How are you doing for that tube that's nearly empty?
Right, empty.
Yeah, it's in quite quickly, mate, so you need to get used.
With the sea only getting deeper now, up above, Dick begins hoisting up the pipe, ready to lower it into the fray. Not a moment too soon, Jem tightens the final bolt.
Dick, that's it. Down and clear, Jem.
But they're not out of the water yet. The final task before the tide rises too high is locating the pipe and clamping it down at the bottom.
Right, we need to rotate it. It needs to... Hold on. Now, can you rotate it by hand? Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, like that. Okay. Like you're pushing in. That's it. Good man.
They've beaten the tide, and their impressive installation has drawn quite a crowd of local supporters. So once the pipe is strapped in tight, they can stand back and admire their handiwork.
We were seriously lucky with the weather and things, weren't we? Yes.
Wasn't it beautiful?
It's fantastic, Dick.
Come on, Neptune.
A little later and the tide is up, but the big question is, do the waves push the air up and down in the pipe?
That's so cool.
Well, hold on, we have to... Way! Up!
So a major milestone is achieved.
It works. It does work, you see.
But there's still lots to do, turning the waves into electricity for the caravan. Dick and Jem have now got their hands on the piece of precision engineering that is a Wells turbine.
It's got the perfectly symmetrical aerofoil. The air gets sucked up, gets diverted by the wing and sent back that way, which pushes it forwards. And then when it comes down, it hits there, gets diverted round and keeps pushing it forwards.
The aerodynamic blades on the Wells turbine mean it only spins one way, even if the wind direction changes. This is a snapshot of a spinning blade, with wind coming up from the bottom. The blade divides the airflow disproportionately, so most of it travels back along the underside. Because only a small amount of air goes up around the front, the blade is pushed forward. If the wind in the pipe then changes direction, the top of the spinning blade now experiences the disproportionate flow. The turbine will continue to spin without stalling, generating electricity continuously. What's also useful is the turbine's close fit inside this tube.
With turbines, obviously, like, if they're close to the edge, they're very good. If they're pretty much touching the edge, they're brilliant.
Jem sets to work modifying their generator so the Wells turbine will fit onto it. Dick's devising a way of mounting the turbine and generator in the yellow tube.
Let's go and fit it in the pipe.
Get down up here with it.
It's time to fit the Wells turbine and generator to the funnel. This is a make or break moment. Will the airflow spin it up or blow it off like a cork? The Atlantic swell around the bottom of the oscillating water column should be enough to send a powerful wind whistling up the tube. So everything's resting on whether the Wells turbine will do its thing.
Yeah. Let's get it on there.
The moment it's on, they can hear it working.
Ooh,
Get it attached, Jem. I'm holding it at the minute.
All right, all right, all right.
Outside one now.
If I slacken this up a little bit.
It's breathing away.
It sounds like a sleeping dragon, like some Irish sea dragon, and every now and again, it's going to wake up like this when this comes in.
What do you think it is? Oh, it's humming.
Oh.
I think it's purring. It's
It is.
content.
Yeah.
It's doing what it's supposed to do. Harnessing the waves.
See, it does keep going the same way regardless. I love it.
It's a success, no matter whether the air is sucking or blowing. And they're also impressed with the amount of wind coming up their column.
I happen to have an anemometer for measuring the speed of the wind. Here we go.
Speed do we get?
Yeah, get up there.
26, 30! 30 miles an hour. 30 mile an hour wind through there is good.
So with the electricity flowing out, they waste no time connecting it up to a battery system. A gadget called an inverter will step up the battery output to mains voltage. And everything's enclosed in a tough weatherproof box to protect the electrics from the elements. The power will travel down a chunky cable all the way to the caravan, where surfers Keith and Rosie are eagerly waiting.
Oh, they're looking chilled. Here we go.
Oh!
Put a connector on this, connect it up. You got wave power.
Yay!
Happy days.
Then once you're plugged in and the batteries are charged, it'll be lights, music, action.
The big switch on is next, but only after a good few hours of battery charging. As the sun goes down, it's time to get ready for the test.
You have to get up there. We're on the case. Pull it your way, Jem.
Yeah.
The moment of truth. Will the oscillating water column have produced the goods?
We've now got power at the end of this cable.
Is there enough juice to light up the caravan?
Do you reckon it's going to work?
Yes! I reckon it will. Get it in there, Dick.
Here we go. Who's in there, like?
Oh!
Here we go.
You haven't left the gas on, have you?
It's a fantastic success. In just a few days, using some old sewage pipe and some makeshift materials, they've harnessed the Atlantic and turned its waves into mains electricity.
Here's to Irish Wave.
Today it's a caravan, but tomorrow machines like this could really catch on and generate power for coastal communities all over the world. Another job well done for the Planet Mechanics.